Hey, and welcome to the Brohoyo podcast, the podcast about gacha in general and Hoyoverse games in specific. I'm your host, Steven, and this is my co host, David.
Hey everyone.
And this week we're going to talk about what we know about Natlan, patch 5.0, and we're going to have some speculation near the end on what we think Natlan's story might be or where we think the region might be going. So, just to kind of, I guess, jump right in, the live stream for the 5.0 patch happened about a little bit over a week ago, or a little bit under a week ago. And a lot of new info has come out. Let's jump right in with new characters. Dave, what did you think about the three new characters that they're going to be releasing that are Natlan's first characters?
Yeah, so I'm kind of excited to learn more about the characters. They gave us, the character art, what they look like, and also the schedule for those characters. So coming in to version 5.0, which goes live on August 28th. That phase one, first banner, those that couldn't catch the live stream, or haven't seen highlights yet. The first phase that begins that day is going to be the new character Mualani, who is a Hydro character, and then running alongside her for his rerun would be Kazuha. So if you are wanting to pick up on him and hadn't in the past, right, your opportunity there. Now, the other thing we know about these banners is the new four-star character, Kachina, or Kashina maybe, who is a four-star Geo character, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She will be on the banner as well, so she'll have a rate up. But as we always remind to advise here at Brohoyo, if you are pulling on a banner for a four-star and a four-star only, not recommended. Only pull if you're interested in that five-star. But as far as what we have with Phase 1 on Mualani, again, looking at a Hydro character, I believe she's a Catalyst user,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken. And they did actually, yeah, they showed the weapons. Yeah, it is a Catalyst user. And they showed the weapons as well. So her weapon actually looks really cute. It's kind of like a bomb but a shark, and then it's got like a little, circular fish type thing inside of it. And looks really cute. And that's kind of, I guess, what her character kind of exudes to me when I first saw her. Even the pose she's doing in some of these freeze frames with like the two finger peace victory sign or whatever. And but as far as her character design, what I see so far, it's giving kind of like tribal vibes, and I think that's when we learned about Natlan initially, and it's the Fire Archon, the desert or the Sahara type, and maybe African tribes vibe kind of came through when we initially learned about it, and I think that's exemplified in the character art, with the others as well, but Mulan here, just between the clothing outfit itself, and then I mean I'm going to say tan lines, but they're not tan lines, they're tribal markings. But they do look a little bit like tan lines. But
I,
yeah, I would say tribal
I don't
markings.
know. I'm really tempted to call them tan lines because like her upper arms and
That's true. She does have some on the knees,
yeah,
and so it could be like she wears knee guards because maybe they're introducing some sports here in
yeah. I was thinking
Natlan.
like
Based
volleyball type knee.
based off of the
Yeah,
trailer. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna be if it's volleyball per se or it's gonna be
that
called
style.
but yeah, they're equivalent. Whatever Tevat's spin on volleyball is. So who maybe they are tan lines, and I'm not wrong in saying that, but I'm gonna go with tribal markings for now, until we learn a little bit more about her. But yeah, so she does look, cute. I think she's, kind of in a younger, smaller child character model, as opposed to,
Yeah.
like Raiden or Eula or something like that, like the adult character model, as it
Mhm.
were. And then we have Kachina, the four-star, also kind of similar, smaller child model. And she is a Geo user, but I'm not sure what her weapon is. Maybe she's a no.
I thought she
Yeah, I'm
was a
not 100% sure what
two-handed
she is.
weapon because she has the little like go-kart thing that she uses as well. Like she can
Oh,
climb.
is she maybe a Claymore user
Claymore
then?
user, yeah.
Yeah, based off the character art, yeah, could might be right on that. But the other one for sure, the next character in Phase 2, which is going to begin September 17th, Kinnick or Kinish? Kinish?
Yeah, I think it's
He's going to be a Dendro character, and he is going to be a great sword user for sure.
Mhm.
It's similar to Mualani again, kind of getting tribal vibes. It maybe looks like he's from a different tribe, perhaps with his color palette. But as far as his, appearance, kind of looks like that angsty, like if African tribes had angsty teenager garb, that's what he's wearing and what the vibes he gives off. But those are kind of my initial impressions looking at the characters. What about you, Steve? What are you feeling when you were looking at the live stream?
Um, so I guess I'm gonna get it out of the way. Both of these are kind of skips for me. Um, Mualani is neat. I'm gonna be honest. I get a lot of Pokemon trainer vibes from this entire region, and I believe that's because there is some sort of like, not to get too skip too far ahead, but I believe there's some sort of like monster battling type setup in the region, if I remember correctly. Um, so I think we're gonna get a lot of like semi Pokemon trainer type designs, and yeah, just neither of these two are quite hitting it for me. Mulan looks, she's cute, she's bubbly, so on and so forth, or she has a bubbly look, but not really digging the weird suntan, maybe tribal marks on her. And then Kenichi is just not. He looks like a 8-bit version of, or a like, yeah, an 8-bit version or an arcade nerd version of. I completely blanked on his name. He's the wind guy with the spear. Puts on the mask.
Oh, Zhao.
Jiao, thank you, Jiao. All I could think of was short. That was the only thought that came into my head was short guy. I was trying to avoid saying that, but whatever. Yeah, they both look really good. I think the style of Natlan is going to be really interesting, especially if they keep that sort of tribal, colorful palette that they seem to be giving everybody. But at the moment, these two are looking like misses for me.
Yeah, I think I would agree. When we initially saw the Natlan trailer when that came out, and they were kind of introducing some of the characters in terms of what they looked like and giving us little teasers of all of them, for me there were two characters that stood out, and it wasn't these two.
Oh yeah.
One I think obviously is the Archon.
Mm-hmm.
Because as Steve's said in the past, and Steve's logic is they don't make weak Archons in terms of playable characters. So I will be interested to see what she does. I have we obviously don't know her kit. There's been some speculation as to what she is. I'm sure there's been leaks out there. I haven't actively looked for any leaks or seen any leaks. I just have some speculation about what she could be. Now, those people speculating may have seen the leaks and therefore they're not. They're just saying they're speculating, but they're really being very direct. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't dig in. But from speculation, from my understanding, she could be like a 5-star Jing Zhao,
Yeah.
a five, the five-star Guoba
Mm-hmm.
character essentially, right? Be that fire support user. So I'm very intrigued to see what she ultimately ends up doing, because she did look really cool, and Archons generally are very cool in whatever way it may be. And then the other character I was interested in, there was a small clip I think of a Geo user, and I'm interested to see what she ultimately does. And anybody that is new in the Geo element, they come out so rarely, right? It was Navia was the most recent 5-star Geo character, but then before that it was Ito, like he.
No, because Chiori came out right around.
Oh, Chiori technically was
Yeah.
Geo, but uh, okay, so they've come out a little bit more frequently, but it was Chiora, and then yeah, Navia, but then before Navia, how far back do we have to go
Yeah. We have to
for
go
a 5-star?
all the way back to, I think,
Like,
Inazuma.
obviously, do we go back to Ito?
Yeah.
And that's Inazuma. We had Sumeru, and then Sumeru the Desert, and then Fontaine, and then the end of Fontaine for Navia type thing. So I'll be intrigued to see what she does, and if there's any synergy with Zhongli, or even if there's any synergy with him and Ning Wong type thing, because I have her built
Mm-hmm.
from way back when. I will be very interested in her. So I'm curious about those two as far as from what the trailer is. So these first two, yeah, are going to be a skip for me. But I will want to see what they ultimately end up doing. But again, my eyes are on those other two.
Yeah, and I think I'm in the same place that it's the Archon and either the Geo Lady or I believe there was a Electro or someone like that. It's been a bit since I saw the trailer. It tends to be with Genshin that that I get the Archon, and then basically the only other character that I'm really excited about tends to be the last female character that they end up releasing. With like Inazuma, it was Raiden and Yai Miko. Like,
Mhm.
they kept on holding off Yai until the very, very end. It's like, well, why do you guys keep on holding off the ladies that we're all like slathering for, and then you just release them at the very end, like right before
Give
it's
the
all
people
over.
what they want.
Yeah, like come on, like really, you're gonna hold us out on like that?
That Braden hype was
Yeah,
real. Um,
we'll
now
pull another Taya.
I will say I did want to mention. So I gave our 4-star polling advice
Mhm.
for this for banners in general, but it is worth noting that in 5.0 we are going to be getting a free Kachina. Presumably, if it's like any of the other patches, it's as you play through the Archon quest. At some point, you will get her for free, so you don't even have to worry about pulling on the banners unless you are ultimately going for the new 5-star character in Mualani, or you're going for Kazuha on his rerun. So I did just want to throw that out there because I was remiss in not saying that earlier, that we will ultimately get a free Kachina working through the story event, which that's nice because if anything, it's every other Ascension, right? You get a standard banner pull, so every little wish helps.
And I guess moving a little bit forward, we're also going to be getting new forgeable weapons in the new zone. New zone, new forgeable weapons. I'm going to be honest, I don't know about like they're going to function. In general, I've found that most of the forgeable weapons are going to be blunt, kind of mid to bad, or very very specific and not necessarily great. Hopefully, these new ones that will be coming out will be of more general usage, something that's a little bit better. But considering that they're
Yeah.
free,
I mean, I to your point, as far as forgeable weapons, I don't think I've forged a weapon since maybe Inazuma.
mhm.
Because, like you said, they are very niche in terms of what characters best utilize them. And until we kind of know more about what the actual skill is or the ability is on each of these weapons, I can't really speak to it. As far as the aesthetically, their looks, I think the spear kind of looks cool, as does like the one-handed sword to me. But overall, yeah, like I said, until that we understand what the kits are and if that really fits in any of the characters that we have or are using, then yeah, they'll just. I have so many billets like in my inventory just because I don't craft weapons because yeah, again they're very niche. So,
Yeah.
and most characters, if you're not having their signature weapon, usually their best 4-star weapon is still something that you get from wish banners. It's not going to be craftable, or they're from events,
Mhm.
and again, not usually craftable.
Unfortunately, that's not as big of a draw as we would maybe hope. But skipping right
Yeah.
along,
There will be 2 new artifact sets.
mhm.
So we don't, I think, know much about them. I think I just have the names here: is the Obsidian Codex and then Scroll of the Hero of Cinder City. So we'll see what those do at some point. It may be out by now, but I have not seen it. But I did want to note that there will be 2 new artifact sets coming out. But what do we got next, Steve?
So next will be the new area. We're just gonna move on to the new areas. So we did get some screenshots and some footage of Natlan and what it's gonna look like. Um, the three notable areas that were kind of shown off were the sorry, give me one second. There was the Children of the Echoes tribe. Apparently, have a sort of gorge area that they live in. Then there's a region that is populated by the people of the Springs tribe, which is a green flowing pasture area, very flowy, almost looks like an Animo type zone, kind of Sumeru-ish. Apparently, it serves as a excellent vacation spot, and they have a specific. Each of these areas have a sort of specific dinosaurs that go with them. And then the final region is the scions of the Canopy tribe, which is a sort of cliffside, mountainy sort of region. Um, Again, lots of color in all three. Looks like each one will have their own sort of dinosaurs associated with it, which leads kind of directly into our new exploration mechanics. Which, Dave, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the new exploration mechanics, I immediately, I don't know if anybody remembers these books, but it was a series of books we read growing up called Animorphs, and it was, essentially kids had the power to turn in animals that they had once touched, with the caveat being they couldn't stay in that form for more than 2 hours. But now I'm going down that rabbit hole, and we don't. That's not what we're here for.
We're not here
But
to
the
discuss children committing war crimes, okay?
but effectively, yeah, it looks like so these dinosaurs or animals that are in the region, so we got a teaser kind of using the animal abilities in Fontaine. We'd go up and beat some animal underwater, get their ability, and then we'd use that to solve puzzles. Well, now we're not beating the animals; we're literally turning into them, using their abilities to traverse the area. So the ones that were depicted in the live stream is an alligator-esque looking animal or shark looking, in terms of swimming through water. And then the other one was more,
Yeah, if you
I
want,
almost
I
want to
can.
say, I almost want to say
Mhm,
ostrichy kind of look, like that type of flightless bird look
mhm.
with two long legs, used to jump and kind of fly across things.
I believe I,
I,
I
I,
have an official description if
Oh,
you'd like.
yeah, if you have an official description, yeah, I was just best way in layman's terms
Yeah.
for anybody that has seen it. But what's the official way to
So
describe them?
the coho is the sort of snake, lizard, crocodile thing that swims. Apparently, it can move very fast in water. There is a Tetlosaurus, which can burrow and move underground, and then there is a Yumkasaurus, which is the sort of ostrich. Think the Dendro chicken boss. Looks very similar to that, which uses
Mhm.
grappling hooks. Um, and those are
Okay.
sort of the three that we know about so far. There's implications that there might be more potentially available that can do other stuff, but those are the three that we know about at this time.
Okay. I guess, I mean, I can appreciate a faster way to traverse water that isn't in the boats, because the boats tend to get snagged up in shallow water.
Mm-hmm.
And since this isn't the open ocean like Inazuma was, and, Apple Archipelago was, these are just ponds and kind of rivers. I can appreciate faster traversal through that. The what did you call them? The Yumkasaurus and the grappling hooks. That mechanic just sounds and looks like kind of what we've been doing in Fontaine and Sumeru, without the transformation into an animal.
I think the idea is that they will no longer have to have set hooks; that you'll be able to like use them all the time.
Oh, okay. So it's not
Um,
like you have to hit T on the node in order to teleport to it. They
yeah,
kind of create their own, is the thought, maybe? Okay.
yeah. I'm going to use a Smash metaphor. But you do you remember how Joker plays in Super Smash Bros, where he has his grappling hook that he just kind of shoots off to the side and it'll hook to whatever, like it just kind of hooks in the
Vaguely,
air.
but yeah, so you're making a reference to Super Smash Brothers
Yeah,
for those that just heard Smash and were like, what's that?
yeah. Whoa, what is he talking about? No. Yeah, it's something like that. Where basically it's just an extended jump that you can use anyway or anywhere. I suspect that there are going to be daily quests, daily activities that are going to require you to transform into the Dendro chicken and use that in order to catch a floating jellyfish.
Oh,
Um, just a guess, but I will presume that that is something that is in the pipe, as it were. Um, so we will see though. Um,
okay. Well, and along with new modes of transportation in terms of animals and wildlife, we will also, on the more dangerous side, be getting looks like maybe two new world bosses. So we'll have a gluttonous Yom Kasor Mountain King, which just sounds like a much larger, fatter Yom Kasor that we are going to be teleporting around with. And this one's a little bit meaner, apparently. And then we are also going to have a Gold Flame Quacosaur, Quacusaur
sure.
tyrant. Quacusaur. I could stumble over that all night. But essentially, this one looks more like a kind of his arms are kind of wings, and then he's got two hind legs types. So it was in the that boss was in the teaser specifically. You could see it kind of flying around near the end of that wandering teaser, and so we'll be interested to see kind of the mechanics of these boss fights. I would imagine these be yeah, just kind of the world bosses that you go to spend 40 resin on and respawn after recent patches every 10 seconds or so, rather than what we used to have to wait, what, 5, 10 minutes for them to respawn?
Yeah, it was a 5 minute timer.
Yeah. No more, thank goodness.
Yep. Well, I'll just move right along. That's about it. We might have to circle around a little bit to Natlan specific, but there was also an announcement on the 4th anniversary
Yes.
that is coming, and good news? Question mark. I mean, it is good news, but they have improved the rewards that we will be getting this year in comparison to the previous three. Instead of the 10 entwined fates, we will be getting 20 full pulls, 10 entwined fates, 1600 primo gems, one sanctifying elixir, which is a new item, which we'll go into in just a little bit, as well as some commemorative gadgets that go along with it. And the big one is going to be the standard 5-star character selector.
Oh, you mean the big one isn't the Genesis Crystal initial top-up bonus will be reset?
I mean, for some people, yes, but
For the whales, that is good
yeah.
news. For those that are spenders, even or heavy spenders or light spenders, yeah, it is just kind of worth noting. That bonus you get when you initially purchase a Genesis Crystal package, those will be reset. So you will get some bonus ones on your next first purchase of whatever size pack you go with. But for everybody, even the free to plays, like ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
the standard 5-star character selector is going to be a huge thing to see. I think that is a welcome gesture from Hoyoverse to the community, especially after previous years' rewards or lack thereof. But essentially, we're going to be looking at either our options being Deha, Kaching, Mona, Chi-Chi, Jean, Tainari, or Diluc. So we got the option of 7 right there. Steve, I know you already have a C6 Kaching, so there's really 6 options for you. Do you have an idea of who you'll be spending your on?
I do. But
Okay.
I want you to say yours first.
Okay. So my initial reaction was of all these characters, I'm only using Mona and Jean. I use Mona in my Ganyu Freeze team, and I use Jean in my Clarion Farina team. And so I'm leaning towards those two for practicality. In terms of for resources type to expand the roster and get those free pulls every other ascension, right? I would either go with Tainori or Deha, but I'd probably lean towards Deha because I like her character art better, and I have an affinity for female characters.
So that doesn't make me feel as bad because, yeah, I was going to pull Deha. I have
Okay.
all of the other characters. I infamously have a C6 Kaching because just she kept on coming home. But I do not have a Deha, so in order to complete my standard character collection, I will be picking her up. I have no strong desire to get an additional constellation on any given character. I might check my gene and see if she's C3. If she is, I might go for C4 because that's a decent buff for her.
Yeah,
But
I was just thinking my gene I think is C2, so she would
yeah,
go to C3, but I'd have to double check that.
yeah. If I could get a C4 gene, I might go that route. But even then, I'm still thinking I'll pick up Dea just because I want the character, even if she's probably going to end up sitting at level 60 or 70, whatever the max is
The
for
last
what.
reward is,
Yeah,
yeah.
whatever the last reward is. She will sit there without relics, and basically be a very pretty model that I occasionally look at and go, wow, I really
Yeah, her
wish she had been
character art
better.
and design was always great. I think we always agreed with that. It was just the numbers on her kit were not ideal, unfortunately. But I think she's a wonderfully designed character, and she has a fun personality when she was introduced to us in the story.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, she was the last female character of of the patch. Where she was a hotly anticipated female character that came near the end of the patch, and so she didn't quite live up to it. I feel like that's a trend. I guess
And
a meal
then
breaks it, but whatever. Anyways, continue.
And then for our next updates as well, things that are coming out. So the newest game mode, Imaginarium Theater, is going to get an update. It is going to get a quote visionary mode, which is being described as a very challenging gameplay mode. It's going to require a minimum of 22 characters to start the performance. So I don't know if this is going to be supposed to be that new challenging gameplay that a lot of Genshin players have been pining for years, or if it's going to be, quote unquote harder, but really that level, it's the difficulty is the bar for entry is, 22 characters that are built. Is that why
Yeah.
it's going to be hard type thing? Not because of necessarily it's overly difficult, but because it's just 22 characters is a lot for people that haven't maybe been playing as long as maybe you or I have.
Look, I'm gonna be honest. That's a lot for even people that have been playing as long as you and I have. Like, let's be
Also
blunt.
true.
If you're free to play, having 22 built characters across only 3 elements, that's rough. Because most of us really build up 1 or 2 teams, and that's what we
Hmm.
work on. Like, you don't. Genshin has not rewarded building wide for the most part. Building tall has been good enough, and I get why they've implemented a mode that encourages it, but man, I don't know. Like I said, I've got real issues with Imaginarium Theater, and this is
Yeah, we,
not.
we touched on that, and I think in a previous episode when that originally launched, and then we also for descriptions of building tall versus building wide, you can go back to a previous episode of ours as well, where we discussed the pros and cons of having a large roster of characters versus a few dedicated characters that are maybe multiple constellations. Next feature that is coming out for those that are interested in would be new Genius Invocation cards in the TCG update. So this is a game mode I'm not too huge on. I do it if necessary for my weeklies, but other than that, I don't really touch Genius Invocation. But worth noting, if you enjoy the card game mode in the tavern there in Genshin, we do have some new cards coming out, so it allows you to play around with your deck synergies and try out some new strategies.
Yep. And then let's jump to quality of life features. There's been a number of quality of
Yeah.
life changes that they're going to be making. The first is world level 9 is going to be unlocked. That they are adding additional world levels to make the game more difficult, give it a little bit more of a challenge to those of us. It will basically increase the levels of normal, elite, and boss enemies by 10. So I believe they will be jumping from 90 to 100, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly.
that sounds correct.
Yeah.
And of course, with that, they'll also be dropping more materials, so it should make farming a bit easier. So maybe I can finally go back and 10 my Yai Miko, because those famed handguards are such a pain to farm.
Yeah. Yeah. Although tied to that, they jumping around just a little bit. They are also adding a region specialty tracking feature, so getting the regional specialties that you need to level up your characters should be easier as well. That you won't have to go to their online map and try and figure out how to get the flowers or the sakura blooms or what have you that you need. You should be able to get them within the game, set them up as to appear on your map, and you can just kind of do it all inside the game. You don't need a dual monitor set up in order to
Uh,
handle
That'll
that.
be nice. I don't know. I had that Noctilus Jade run memorized way back in Liyue.
Yep, yep.
That'll be a helpful and welcome addition. We do have in other quality of life stuff. This is kind of a big change, and that will be the fate point system is being optimized. So that fate point system was on the weapon banner, and for those that were familiar, when this was originally introduced, the fate point system, it was basically if you lose the fit on the weapon, no, it's not technically I think 50-50 on the weapon, it's slightly different. But if you lose on the weapon banner, you could lose a second time. But if you lose that second time, the third time, it's going to be guaranteed. So that's what it had been. And now they're changing it to more like the character banner in that if you fail the one time, if you lose out on that one, your next hit will be guaranteed. Now, it is still worth noting that these don't carry over between banners like the character banner does. So it will reset with every weapon banner that changes. So if you do not have enough pulls to hit, 160 pulls, you're still at risk for not getting the guarantee weapon if something doesn't come home early.
But again, does mean that those of you who are longtime listeners, we will not end up in another situation where you have two.
Yes, the Navia event of 2024. Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
How many miss splitters? Goodness gracious. So that is going to be something that is new. And then speaking of the banners and some changes, we do have a new mechanic being introduced on the character banner. Steve, if you want to explain the capturing radiance mechanic, what are we looking at with this?
So, to be clear, it's a little vague, but in general, the way that it will work is that when you pull on a character wish or character limited time banner, if you win a 5-star character, but it is not the guaranteed promotional 5-star character that you are pulling for that wish, there is a chance of triggering what is called capturing radiance. After it is triggered, the 5-star character that you would have won in the event, instead of being the off banner character, will instead switch to being the promotional 5-star character that you got, the limited time character that you were looking for. So essentially what this means is that instead of it being a full 50-50 when you do your pull, it'll be some other odd, because if you fail that 50-50, you get another roll. Now, the numbers haven't been released to my knowledge on how this works, what's going into it. I have certain speculations that I believe how it might work, but until it goes live, we do not know how this will affect the odds of you getting a limited time character. The stated intention of capturing radiance is to make it so that character or players with poor luck don't feel like they're constantly losing the 50-50, which leads me to believe that there would be some sort of, based off of previous pools, you get an increased odds of passing a 50-50 each time you fail a 50-50. But that is pure speculation on my part, just based off of what they've described their intent with that mechanic. But we do not know anything hard about it at this point in time.
Well, here's what I want from this mechanic. Because like you said, I want to know when you lose the 50-50, what are the odds of this triggering? So that way we can really calculate, is it 50? Because it's no longer a 50-50 anymore at that point, right? It's whatever calculation it'll be times the odds of that triggering, or whatever it ends up being, right?
Correct.
So I do want to know what the chance of having it trigger would be. Is it going to be a static solid number, so it's fixed? So like, hey, if you lose your 50-50, you have a 20% chance of this happening. That's just always what it is. Or are they going to take it even a step further and say, you haven't had it trigger on when you lost this 50-50, you haven't had it trigger when you lost this 50-50, and so it'll be maybe a 10% that first time to trigger, but you lost it. And then it'll be a 20% chance that second time. And if you somehow still lose that 50-50 and it doesn't trigger, it'll be a 30% on the next 50-50 that you lose. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be like, it's a gradual increase as for it to happen as you lose more and more 50-50s. That's interesting, but we'll again see how they do it. The other thing I want from this mechanic is during the summon animation, there better be a visual way to tell that this triggered. Like, I want to know when this triggered, and that's why I'm getting the guaranteed 5-star, and not I just won my 50-50. That would be my one request of it. Like, I want to know how often this triggers, and I want to know that it triggered rather than I just won the 50-50.
I imagine that there would have to be some sort of visual. My gut tells me that what would happen, and again, this is all unconfirmed, my gut says that they would throw it in during the reveal. So you'd get a reveal of the loss, and then there'd be a whoop change, and the new silhouette appears. So you'd have had one silhouette, and then some effect.
Yeah, and the other one swoops in, or like does a little static change, and then it shifts into whatever the actual banner character is. Yeah, there's got to be some type of a visual thing that lets you know, hey, you did lose the 50-50. but this capture radiance triggered, and that's why you have your brand new shiny 5-star that you wanted.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I actually think I did a quick Google search, and
Oh,
I'm trying to see if. Oh, yep, there it is. Okay, so I'm gonna really quickly shoot you over on Discord the a GIF of what the captured radiance looks like. That is
okay.
not what it's supposed to do. That is a static image, not a GIF. Give me 1 second.
Are you looking at leaks right now while we're looking at the show?
No, it's not technically. No. Um, I'm not looking at leaks. This is
For shame.
these are available online. Not. I'm not going anywhere special. This is just news articles have it. So if you click into that news article, it'll have a copy of what the animation looks like.
And where did you send this link to?
It's in Discord.
Okay, I see it. Okay.
Peek behind the curtain for all of you listeners.
All right. Let's open this up. Let's sneak a peek.
So while he's looking at it, I'll give a visual or an audible description of what it looks like. Basically, instead of the usual 5-star, glowy gold, there will be an additional explosion that happens afterwards. So you'll have a larger, sort of a reddish purple
So you'll
explosion.
yeah, you'll get the orange flash, but then that'll fade, and then a pink or purple flash. Basically the same color as an intertwine as the fate
Yeah.
currency looks. It'll be that pinkish color, and then that's the visual cue.
Yep. So that'll tell you that it goes off. So we're safe there. At least we can track it. And I guess I will have to remember this portion in the cast to make sure I put the visual up on screen so that people can see it. But
All right, well that's good. That's good to know there will be a visual representation. Now then it just boils down to the question of how often does it trigger, and is it something that grows over time the more you don't trigger it from happening?
yeah.
Now, for a next quality of life thing that's coming, it looks like one of our things we would change in Genshin from our episode 2 weeks ago is coming true. And we did that episode, things we would change in Genshin. We did that, I think, a week before the live stream. And then a week later, the live stream happened. And it was like, that's what we had talked about.
Yep.
And so what that is the customized artifact crafting function. So this is going to be after the update. Essentially, you'll be able to spend a material to select the main stat for a piece of gear.
Hmm.
And then I believe, and Steve, you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, if you spend more of that material, you can then choose up to 2 of the substats that you would want on it as well. So you're minimizing your chances of quote unquote missing on an artifact piece, but you still do technically have 2 other substats that could potentially roll into the dreaded flat stats. Flat defense that nobody needs. And so this is a step in the right direction, I think, of what we were looking for. Implemented, I'd say, slightly differently with the actual creation of it, as opposed to after it's created, then allowing us to re-roll a stat line. But again, a step in the right direction and helping us get that much closer to the ideal artifact piece.
Yeah, I think with this one, the biggest concern I would say I have about it is how prevalent are these elixirs going to be. That if it's something where you get one from an event every patch, or if they're even as rare as what you get in Honkai, I'm. It's nice, but they're not really going to actually be fixing the underlying problem because you're going to need 4. You have to use 4 of the elixirs based off of what I've seen and what they showed on the live stream. With 4 elixirs, you can choose the main stat and then the 2 substats. And if you're only getting 4 of these elixirs per patch, that's 1 artifact where you can guarantee 2 of them, but you now have 2 additional rolls that might fail, and then you still have to level it up. So you could get your crit perfect element goblet, and then when it goes to roll, everything goes into the flat defense that you got. Well, that doesn't really help you.
If it even has the flat defense pop up on the thing, that artifact is dead to me. I don't even go to +6. I'll be
Fair
like, I'm
enough.
out.
I'm a dead stat, a useless
Shark
stat.
Tank, I'm out.
Yeah, it rolled attack percentage, and you're and everything goes into attack percentage. Okay, that's not awful, but that's not really much of an improvement if you're really needing the crit side of it.
So I
So,
wonder. I imagine it would probably be like a reward for events going on, similar to how it is in Star Rail. I also wonder if they allow us to purchase a weekly one, like through the teapot currency. That would be interesting.
mm,
And then if it is potentially something that could be craftable, um, I think those would be extra ways to get more. But yeah, like you said, if it is just something that's like through events and basically in one patch cycle you get enough to use four to essentially get one piece of gear. Um, yeah, it's gonna be nice, but like you said, not enough to fix the underlying issue we have with artifact grinding.
yeah. And then I guess as a final quality of life, this doesn't really affect you or me, Dave, but for onboarding character or onboarding people, new players, there is a quick start feature to the Archon quest now. So basically, after you finish, I believe it is Liwa. I might be wrong, but once you hit a certain point in the story, you will get the ability to basically teleport to jump to the most recent Archon quest. Um, Tied to that is, and I believe, I don't have this in my notes, so unfortunately, this is top of head, something that I remember that tied into it. I believe going forward as well, the Oculuses are now universal. So if you are trying to raise your stamina, you do not have to 100% Mondstadt and Liwa. It is an across the board based off of how many of the different Oculuses you get. So if you get half of everything, it would still count as if you maxed out Mondstadt and Liwa for the purposes of stamina. Was another change that I believe
And
occurred.
just to confirm, yeah, for this quick start Archon quest stuff, yeah, like you mentioned, you do have to finish all of the Leo Archon quests in order to enable this feature, and also be above Traveler level 28,
Mhm.
which by the time you finish the Leo Archon quests, you will be around or above 28, because I believe that is actually a threshold in order to advance the Leo story arc. So that's good that you can able to jumpstart there. So if you do get a new character that involves materials in a region you can't get to, we're now able to kind of overcome that. Now, for those players that aren't maybe brand new but have been taking a break from um, Genshin Impact, there will be a Stellar Reunion Awards. So returning players, you're going to be able to obtain a few more. I believe you can obtain 10 pulls for returning to the game, as well as added quests or added like little mini quests to get more traveler experience and kind of help kind of catch up a little bit. So they are increasing that as well for those that have taken some time off from Genshin. But that's going to do it for the 5.0 stream and kind of what we learned as far as what to look forward to in Natlan. Now, as far as Natlan, from our speculation perspective, where do you think they're going with the story? What's maybe some speculation or things that you'd like to see as we approach 5.0 and enter the land of Natlan?
So, my speculation at this point is that it what I believe is going to occur, and this should go live the day before, so we will see. But I believe basically the direction of Natlan is going to be sports as a metaphor for war, where the three tribes are fighting using this game in order to resolve conflict and so forth. That's how you get the war aspect without getting an actual war, a la Inazuma. And that the Archon of the region of Natlan is going to put her Gnosis up as like a prize. That basically whoever can win the region will get her Gnosis, or in some way you'll be able to inherit it. Which is why you have the captain of the Fatui there. That he is going to be basically trying to win the sports ball tournament or the Pokemon tournament or the whatever tournament, and try and get the Gnosis that way. And it's going to be a lot about basically a tournament arc, is what I'm expecting. A tournament arc in Genshin form, with lots of running around and pre-tournament you meet everybody. Middle act is the tournament itself occurring and people getting involved. Somebody cheats or somebody, some not disaster, but some surprise happens. Again, somebody's accused of cheating. Somebody's accused of doing something that they shouldn't have done, and then probably the Fatui. And then the third act is resolving and turning out, oh, no, hey, it turns out it wasn't the case. Captain's going to end up winning it, and then we're going to have to go to, I want to say Svarhelm, and I know that's not it. Snezhnaya, there we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say the end result is somehow Snezhnaya ends up with the Gnosis. I
Yeah.
think is that ultimately where we get.
Basically, yeah. Snezhnaya is going to end up with that Gnosis. We're going to have to go there. My other big guess is that the big reveal is, like, the big twist is going to be that the Pyro Archon is just there, like, hasn't been using the Gnosis all along, anyways. Like, she's been, like, it's corrupted or something like that, and that she reveals that, like, using them is inherently corrupting, and that's the reason why when we go to Snezhnaya, the Cryo Archon is basically going to be out of her gourd on Gnosis corruption. That's my guess. It's a complete shot
That
in the
is
dark.
that is an interesting take. That tracks. That makes for some interesting plot developments. Um, but the fact that it is logical and makes sense, is feasible, is now I'm going to be like watching the story as if that's going to be what happens. And like, okay, well, how are they going to get at that? Because that was good. That's good.
Oh, thank you.
The Gnosis is corrupting, and that's why Snezhnaya is out of their mind and kind of quote unquote evil. And then we fix them, and then
And then we have to
yeah,
go to the
and then
Celestial.
Celestia and everything.
Celestia.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Look, we
Okay.
all know that we're going to Celestia.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's it's where the game started very briefly in the opening cutscene.
Mhm.
It's surely where the story arc ultimately needs to end. Um, well, that's good. I do. Yeah, that gives you a nice path for a redemption for the Fatui, a redemption for the land of Snezhnaya and the Archons there. Because yeah, up to this point, they've been the quote unquote bad guys. I think yeah, for Natlan. I agree. I think we're gonna get some type of arena fighting, sporting type story arc.
Mhm.
Similar to, when Dragon Ball Z had their tournament arc, Yu Yu Hakusho has their dark tournament arc, right? All these animes have tournament arcs.
Mhm.
I think we're gonna have something similar to that for Natlan, yes. And Paimon will of course be there to reiterate everything along the way.
Yeah, but this time that'll
Something
actually serve a purpose. Like, that's an important role in a tournament arc, is the person sitting in the crowd going, I can't believe that they just punched that person really hard.
Or I'm reminded of the Pokemon episode or the Pokemon clip where that guy brings out his secret weapon. It's a secret weapon. It's a secret weapon. Anyway, for those unfamiliar, you can probably just Google search Pokemon secret weapon clip and you'll understand exactly
Yeah.
what I'm talking about. But as far as the story, I think, yeah, the drive will be towards focusing on the Fatui, focusing on. I don't think we're going to advance the story plot so much in terms of our sibling. There might be like one very small thing, but it's going to be in the midst of like the grand story, of something with the Fatui. It's because like similar to how we had like a few patches ago, we went down in the abyss with Dane's Leaf, and then it was just like it felt like very quickly like all the stuff is abyss mage, abyss mage,
Mhm.
abyss mage stuff, and then they dropped the brother on us at the very end with the news about that, and then like we get back and like and it was like for 30 seconds it was a big bomb at that point,
Mhm.
but it was literally like 30 seconds, you know. So I
Yeah.
feel like that may track with something. We may learn like something absolutely huge in a very small time frame, and it's happening during while we're emotionally invested in something else completely different.
Yeah.
Because I do think, yeah, we have to shift to Snezhnaya, after this area, and we have to start making them redeemable. Because, like you, I think we ultimately are gearing up for a battle with Celestia and those gods. Essentially, I'm with you on that, which we've discussed a little bit in the past. Um, but that's kind of where I think the story is going. Like I said, I hope it's fun and engaging. It should be good. I look forward also to the musical score of the region as well, to
Mhm.
hear what the music, both the like passive music sounds like as well as battle music sounds like. Um, So I hope for all these things because I do like the way the area looks. Like looking at the images of the different regions and the ecosystems. Yeah, you have the valley, known for its mining type,
Mhm.
which doesn't look like it's going to be great fun to traverse necessarily with changes in elevations and stuff. But the vacationing spot, that town, that tribe, looks like it's going to be a lot of open fields, and I think the area was known for having a hot springs. So I think that could be a cool area that's relatively easy to traverse and have fun with. And then when I saw the third one with the I believe the Sky Folks, it was kind of up on like cliff walls
Mhm.
and in the mountains, and I immediately thought for some reason of if you remember the old World of Warcraft, the Tauren and their
Mhm.
home city, like
Uh,
that's what it reminded me of.
yeah, Thunderbluff. Is that the name of
Yes,
it?
yeah, it
Yeah.
reminded me of Thunderbluff a little bit.
Yeah. I'm really
Granted, what I
curious.
remember Thunderbluff to be, I don't know if expansion packs have changed the landscape. I know there were some cataclysmic events in WoW, but back during Burning Crusade and Wrath, that's what I remember.
I think it's still a city on a bunch of like little mesa mountains. But regardless,
Yeah, I
again,
just
it's
got
been a while
I
since
got
I played
Tauren
as well.
vibes. I got Tauren vibes 100% when I saw those photos from their architecture, their style, everything like that.
Yeah, a lot of it is built into the walls of
Mhm.
like cliff
Not,
faces and
not,
stuff.
not that they're cow people, but
Yeah,
just the aesthetic of their architecture.
yeah. What I am also, I'm going to wildly speculate here. I think we're going to get a like diff staff counterpart to the mountain that we have in Mondstadt. I think we're going to
Oh,
get
so something akin to Dragonspine?
yeah, like the opposite of Dragonspine, where instead of it being cryo, it's going to be pyro, to where you like have to you build up so much heat.
Okay.
I'm thinking of volcano because I think that that'd be a
Oh,
fitting.
yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, you have the pyro zone, you have a volcano there. If you're while you're exploring it, it gets hot, so you have to use cryo or hydro characters in order to reduce the the pyro buildup that you've got in order to not burn to death, not set on fire.
So I think we know our first two phases
Hmm.
for Natlan with the new characters. We know of at least three other characters, right? Because we have the Fire Archon, we have the Geo Woman, and then we have I believe the Electro Gentleman, the masked hooded figure that was teased in the trailer.
Yeah, there's also going to be a young female pyro. She was released. She her spoiler of her was released way back when Genshin first launched. She's the little girl with the bandana and the fire.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay. I was gonna say I wonder because I know he's been in NPC hell for a while, but we know he's gonna become a playable character eventually. Like he has to. Would be Dainsleif, and I don't think they're gonna bring him out in Natlan.
no.
I think they would bring him out in Snezhnaya. The only way they bring him out in Natlan is if similar to their trend of the last character in the patch to set up the next region.
Mhm.
That would be it. But that has, I think, historically been a female character, so that would kind of break the mold a little bit in terms of the gender role. But in terms of setting up the next region, it may be perfect.
I'm gonna be honest. I think Dainsleif is post Snezhnaya. I think he's end of Snezhnaya, leading into
Oh, you would go that far even.
well,
Okay.
because it's gonna go because after Snezhnaya, and this is us looking way in the future. After Snezhnaya, they said that they have a 7 year plan. Um, so we're on year 4. Snezhnaya would be year 5. I think year 6 is Kalak or wherever the place that Dansleaf is from. I cannot remember the name of that city.
Oh, yeah, all the people that turned into hilly trolls.
Yeah, the hilly troll.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
4 or 5 syllables, a lot of consonants together. Yeah.
yeah, the Klingon city. Like that's gonna be the next one, and I think he's gonna be the introduction to there. Like he's gonna be the big 5 star slash not Archon of that region.
Okay.
And then when we go to Celestia, that'll be year 7. Would be
So he'll
Celestia.
he'll be the Nuvile of that section.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
the big draw character that's like, yeah, we've been teasing him for 6 years at this point, or 5.5 years for this point.
The
So
build-up is real on him.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I think that's a good place with Natlan there, unless you had any other speculation things that you wanted to throw out there.
no. I'm super excited to be getting back into Genshin. I'm hopeful that this new cycle, now that they are kind of a little bit more stable, now that Hoyoverse is a little bit more stabilized with Star Rail, ZZZ, and Genshin, that maybe some renewed focus will be going back into Genshin, and will help revive the game a little bit, be a little bit more exciting than the sort of, it's not quite maintenance mode, but the state of it.
The Mario
Yeah,
Party game has become with all these different events.
yeah. So at minimum until New Year's or until Chinese New Year, it'll be exciting to get back into Genshin.
Yeah, I'm definitely needing to sit down next week when Natlan comes out and just dedicate my evenings to it. I gotta put Diablo 4 on a pause. I gotta put Teamfight Tactics on a pause and just really focus on grinding out this story, getting through it, and so we can talk about that, and also catch up on a couple of character quests that I've been neglecting as well. So. Speaking of characters, we do have a new one in Honkai Star Rail. We also have a new event going on in Honkai Star Rail, which I want to talk about. So let's talk about those now. So looking at Rail, the new 5-star character, and I'm going to try my best here, Zhao Q is going to be a fire element who walks the path of nihility. So his character model is a Foxian healer, and essentially he's going to be a big support for Acheron. Essentially, so if you do have Acheron, this might be a character you are considering pulling for. But he went live here this past week, and so we just want to really quickly kind of break down the build, teams that he works in, so you can kind of have an idea of what to look for with him. So, in terms of his relic set, it's a little different in terms of your approach, because he's pretty flexible in terms of his build, because he really focuses on the effect hit rate and speed kind of in order to do his job. So you are going to want at least the two-piece Messenger of the Traversing Hackerspace, because that's going to give him a 6% speed boost. And as far as the other two spots, ideally you want those to maybe be another two-piece set of some kind. But again, you're really wanting to prioritize effect hit rate and speed. So other recommendations for those other two pieces, they could be, the standard kind of support build. The same in the same dungeon that has the Messenger of the Traversing Hackerspace. You could use either of those sets type things. Now, if you are running him with a pure dot team, this does kind of change a little bit. So with a pure dot team, meaning he's got 3 other dot characters on his team, so maybe you're running somebody like Black Swan and Kafka and her name's slipping me right now, but the very happy fire girl, Gunaifen,
Yeah, I was about to
right?
say,
Yeah.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
cannot believe I forgot Gunaifen. Space Joy Mia. But yeah, so let's say you're running a team of those three very dot specific characters. You can run Zhao Kuo on there, and you're going to actually use the prisoner in deep confinement. So again, normally you're not going to run this set on him unless you have 3 dot characters that are in the party, right? So those are kind of going to be what we're looking at. So again, 2 of the Messenger Traversing Hackerspace, and then another 2 set that is functionally useful, contributing to effect hit rate and speed. But if you are running him on a 3 dot team, you can consider Prisoner in the deep confinement. As far as his best planetary sets, again, we do have, depending on your situation, a couple different sets you could go with. So if, let's say, his speed is not up to snuff and he's not acting first, he's not going before the DPS characters that he is supporting, you can use the Sprightly Von Walkick set, because this will increase your energy regen rate, and when your speed reaches 120 or higher, your forward is advanced. Your action is advanced forward 40% upon entering the battle, right? So let's say you can't quite get to that 133 threshold or the 140 or whatever, you need to get ahead of your main carry. If you're above 120, this will prop you forward 40, which generally is you're going to be going first in combat. Now, if your speed is good and you do have him going first and you don't need that 40% jump at the start of combat, you can go with either Fleet of the Ageless or Broken Keel. Again, this is going to depend on, does attack percentage boost benefit your team more, or does that crit damage boost benefit your team, right? So if you're running that dot team, crit damage isn't going to be something you want to build because dots can't crit. So you don't want to do the broken keel. You'll want to go with Fleet of the Ageless. But if you're going with, a not dot team, then crit damage becomes a little bit more important for those carries. Then you're going to want to lean towards the broken keel. If you are struggling to reach the 140% effect hit rate, then you can also settle for the Pan Cosmic Commercial Enterprise. So again, this is something that increases the hit rate by 10%. And then if the other trigger for this one is if the wearer's attack is equal to 25% of the current hit rate, or excuse me, the the wearer's attack will increase up to 25% of the effective hit rate. Sorry, a little tripping over my words there. So again, this is just to help you get to that effect hit rate of 140% that you're wanting for them if you can't get there through normal means of your substats and your light cone, right? So if you can hit 140, then yeah, you're going to want to lean back towards any of the previous three that I mentioned. Now, for those whales out there, there is a DPS build that you can go. So if you get them to E2, you're going to use Glomoth on Jiao Chu here. You're going to be, whether it be 135 speed, or if you can even get them, if you can get them up to 160, there is a build where you use Glomoth as the planetary set. Now, as far as the stats to look for on those pieces for the body, like I mentioned, effect hit rate is going to be the main priority here with speed. So body is going to be effect hit rate and feet are going to be speed. For the planar sphere, you're going to want to look at fire damage, and then the link rope, you're going to want to look at energy regen rate. And then as far as your substats, you're again prioritizing effect hit rate up to 140, then speed up so he's attacking first, and then lastly attack percentage. Again, numbers that you're looking for end game stats: 140% on the effective hit rate. Hopefully, that means your HP will ultimately be somewhere around 3,000 plus, defense around 900 plus, attack with his combat maxed out boost, you're looking at 4,000 plus, and then again speed. It's not a set number you want per se. You just want to be faster than your main carry. For light cone setup, of course, we do have his signature light cone, those many springs, being an option for him. It's going to be about 16 to 17% better than the next option you have available to you. But the good news is the next option you have available to you is a 4-star free-to-play option, in that you have Eyes of the Prey, or you have before the tutorial mission starts, going back to that Silver Wolf Nihility one that we all got for free way back when if you were playing, right? And then if you don't have those as an option, or those are dedicated to other Nihility characters maybe that are going to be playing on the same team, the next best option is a 5-star option, Incessant Rain, which would be the next option. And then lastly, as a 5th choice, you have Resolution Shines as Pearls of Sweat. If you're going for a full DPS build, again, you have to have them at E2 for this build to kind of really shine. But if you do have them at E2 and you're going to DPS build, the light cones you get kind of changes a little bit. Your next best option would actually be the Good Night Sleep Well, which is a 4-star light cone. And then the next best DPS option would be Solitary Healing, which is the 5-star one you get from Herta's store. So by running your weeklies, you would have Solitary Healing up to S5, hopefully maybe by this point. And then as far as team synergies, lastly to touch on these, like I mentioned, he is a big battery for Acheron. So for this, you're going to be looking effectively Acheron, him, Pela, and Fushuan, excuse me. And there also is a potential team for with Dr. Ratio. So it's a Dr. Ratio, him, Robin, and then Adventurine that you can lean that way with. So we don't have any data again on him because he just released, so we don't have any MOC data to see kind of what he's looking like as both a support and a DPS in terms of cycles, and if he can zero cycle or how effective that would be. We'll know more about that after this patch, but that's going to be the preliminary outlook on his build, on his team synergies. So with that being said, Steve, I want to throw it to you so I can maybe drink some water and breathe. What new event do we have going on in Star Rail?
Well, the new Star Rail event that we have is called Trailblaze Friendship is Magic. Um, it is about trash can people. The gimmick of the event is that there's some unique team building that you're locked into a very specific set of teams. You're not able to build sort of whatever you want. They do give you trial characters if you do not have these characters unlocked or you haven't pulled for the character. But you are given a very specific team. But on top of that, you are given a trash can friend who mimics other characters in the game. So, example would be Trailblazer themselves. March 7th, there's one for, I believe, Pela. There's another for, I want to say Herda is another one that it mimics. But basically, what it is there's a fifth member that is added to your team. It's this trash can person who will have unique effects based off of what your Trailblazer does, what your team does. And it'll grow more and more powerful until it eventually goes Super Saiyan and can do interesting things. It's a fun event. I enjoy it, or at least I have enjoyed it so far. I will say the downside is, of course, that you are locked into certain teams, so you're going to have to try and clear it with trial characters in a lot of cases. But I do think it opens up some interesting ideas about what they can do with the combat system and potential future characters, especially around the idea of like summoning and so forth, where you might end up with another character who could mimic the abilities or the effects of these trash can people. So, from a purely interesting gameplay point of view, it's a lot of fun. I was not one of the people who got super big into My Little Pony 10 years back or whenever it was that shot up in popularity for whatever reason. But there are a lot of joke references to that as well, as you can tell by the name, Friendship is Magic. The main trash can that you're running around with is called Mr. Pony. You meet him in the first couple minutes, so that's not really a spoiler. But yeah, it's fun, gives you decent rewards. I also wouldn't stress too much about not being able to 3-star any of the fights, any of the event combat. You only really need to get 2 stars and max out the trash can in order to get all of the jades and everything. 3-starring any of the events combat is just for 10 mutable resin that you can use for artifacts and some credits. So don't stress it too much. Just kind of have fun with it. You're locked into a team anyways, so no big deal. But yeah, that is that. Dave, if you've grabbed your drink of water, we can jump back into other gotcha events. Otherwise, I can sit here and kind of babble for a minute to give you some time.
No, we are good. Thank you for stalling. No, so the outside of the Hoyoverse universe, we did actually have a lot going on this past week with some gotcha news, gotcha events, things going on. So, worth noting for recently, we posted up in our Discord. We had an episode a couple back talking about end of service, and we actually speculated during that episode what games we thought were going to be end of service next. And I got to give a shout out to Steve because the game he guessed being end of service next was Brave 9. It's a game that's been out for a little over 7 years. Originally started as Brown Dust, and then they changed the name some few years into it. It's developed by NeoWiz. They've taken that IP and done it in a lot of different iterations of games, but Brave 9 was the longest running and most successful. Now, Brown Dust 2 is also currently running and is a gacha game that I play, but we saw that end of service announcement come out, so I got to give it to Steve for predicting that one 2 weeks before it happened. But we are sad to see that game go. Now, they did announce that it will be ending at the end of this calendar year, I believe in December. And leading up to that, on August 22nd, they did, which is actually today, as of recording, they launched their patch that basically there's no more really in-game purchases. They gave you a bunch of rewards, like it's kind of a thank you. So basically, you had somewhere around 600 to 700 pulls that they gave you. They gave you a lot of currency for that. They changed things in the shop that you can buy, essentially one per day for like growth materials and such, and even you can buy I think 20 or 30 pulls a day of the different types of pulls, exalted legendary pulls, for 1 gold. So they changed the price for those. skins or costumes that you could buy, which just are aesthetics in this particular version of the game. They changed the price of those, so most of those skins are either 1 gold, or if they previously were cost real money because they were battle pass skins, they cost 1,000 diamonds. So that's something that's kind of cool. And then they also, I think, reduced the currency cost of diamonds to do a 10 pull. And there will be a bunch of other goodies and thank yous and stuff as the game goes closer and closer to its end of service. Now, there is talk. I think they're trying to figure out a way to continue the game in an offline mode so that we could still play it offline. But I think that is still being discussed, but that is ultimately their goal, which, if that happens, is pretty cool. Especially if you enjoyed that game or that strategy style gameplay, or you just maybe enjoy the art as well. And so I did want to bring that up just for those that were aware, and also to give Steve his props as calling it properly as far as what was next going to be end of service. So
Thank you.
golf clap for Steve.
Thank you. Thank you.
Other
Yes.
news that happened this week. So speaking of Brave 9 and then Brown Dust 2, they also had update with their part 2 of their summer event. So they released a new character, Morpia, who is she introduces kind of a new mechanic to the game in that her ability, she summons essentially she summons meat shields essentially, and which is kind of a new concept in Brown Dust 2. So I'm interested to see kind of where it goes with that and how she ends up fitting into the meta or maybe shifting it slightly. I will say, as with all skins going on during this summer event, the cutscene they are cooking. It is, yeah, it's up there. But also going along with her, the summer events, they are currently doing a popularity poll contest. So you can vote up to 3 times a day, and you can even vote for the same character 3 times, I think. And they've done this before. The winner of the event will ultimately get a new skin that will be given out at +5, so which is the max, right? So it's the equivalent of C6ing something in Genshin. Um, so they will create a new skin for the character, which then ultimately means a new skill, and then give you the capability of getting it to +5 very easily without doing any polls, which is pretty cool. So this is similar to what they did during part 1 of their summer event with the Dalvy skin. And right now, the reason I mention it with Morpia is she is currently leading the polling by less than 0.5% over Eclipse. Eclipse is a fan favorite. If you're familiar with the game, you know exactly why she's a fan favorite, especially if you've seen any of her cutscenes, and also know that she has a swimsuit skin coming out within the next 2 weeks, whose cutscene we've only had teased, and looks just as classy, I guess. But that's what's going on in the NeoWiz Brown Dust Brave 9 world. Keeping it in the fan servicey games, so Snowbreak, actually, they had a patch that was supposed to come out yesterday, but didn't come out until today. It was delayed a day because the Google Play Store did not approve of some of the images they were using in the new characters that came out. So they did have to go back, kind of edit that, and what images were being used in the promotional stuff. And so once that got approved, it went live today. And I'll be honest, I logged in right before we got on this together, Steve, and just to see what the hubbub was about. And instantly, I can see why Google was like, can you not use those? Maybe exactly, because the default skins are one thing, but then if you want to spend $20 on a aesthetic costume, goodness gracious, those are
You get your
wow.
$20 your yeah, you get your $20 worth. Excuse me.
I mean, I would for yeah. I mean, yeah, I would say you do, and what's kind of neat about Snowbreak in this regard is that you can actually test the costumes. You can actually they'll have you go into a stage, literally give you enough energy so you can see the ultimate cutscene, and that usually kills all the enemies. So you get to see what you're purchasing, and then you get to see the outro scene. Like whenever you finish a mission, it'll do another cutscene of the character you are. So you get to see her cutscene in the costume and then her outro scene in the costume, and you're like, yeah, I'd like to spend $20 if that is your thing. So I could see the appeal. $20 isn't really a thing for me to do for something purely cosmetic, but I can see why some people will. And then of course they also have a new event going on as well that revolves around the new character. Nika, Goddess of Victory. Again, just keeping it on the fan servicey routes. So a different type of fan service with this one. They're doing an Evangelion collab that just came out. So with that, we're gonna have we have Asura on the main banner now. So our main girl from Evangelion, and then I think three more are coming. One of which the characters you can get for free just by doing the event. So they are in the middle of that. So if you are a fan of Nikkei and have taken a break, or you're a fan of Evangelion and wanted a reason to try out Nikkei, now is the time to give that a go. And lastly, I wanted to give my initial impression thoughts very quickly on Cat Fantasy. So we did joke about this game last week that it was coming out. So for those of you unfamiliar, this game is going to be essentially it's a waifu collector, though you wouldn't know this based on the advertising campaign. There are actually male characters in the game, um, more than I thought there would be. Um, but the fact that there actually are some is interesting because again, looking at the campaign ads, you didn't see one. They hit it pretty well. Um, Now, as far as the gameplay itself, it's very similar to for those of you that maybe played Fate Grand Order in terms of the cards and then merging cards together, or if you played Seven Deadly Sins, that Netmarble gotcha game that I think is still going on. Not their idle game that just came out 2 weeks ago, but one that came out a few years back. So it's card game in that sense, and I will say playing it. A couple things I wanted to note. So this while the game was downloading its resources, it asks you to take a personality test. And are you the it's like the four-letter code, the INPS, like are you introvert, out, extrovert, this, that, and the other. And it asks you 16 questions on a scale of agree to disagree. This is the first gotcha game I've ever seen that wants to analyze my personality like this. So I take the quiz, and the first time I take it, it feeds back error in the readings. It's abnormal. We can't get a reading from you. It's like this is really weird unless you're answering randomly. And so I thought it was a gimmick with the game. So because it told me to retest, so I retest, got the same abnormal result, and then I had my wife take it, and she got an actual result. So I was like, nope, it's not a gimmick of the game. I'm just a psychopath, I guess, and cannot be read.
Well, really quick, sorry, I'm going to go on a bunny trail, just based off of that story. Way back when I was in high school and I was taking the ACT pre-exam, they as part of that they had a like what career would be good for you test. Like, take the personality test, find out what job or career you should go into. And I scored a 99 on it, which meant that I got nothing. They had no jobs. They had all the jobs, and they couldn't find one that fit me. So I understand. I've gotten hit with that before as well, where apparently I'm
So
unhireable.
So yeah, so based off of this and those other gimmicky tests that social media trends maybe have had you take in the past, I'm a psychopath. It just I guess it is what it is, or sociopath maybe. I don't know. I'm Dexter. I have a set of rules that I follow. I guess I have a code. But yeah, so that was interesting. But once the game actually finished downloading, I got an actual gameplay. Now, mind you, I am playing this on mobile. There is a PC client available, which will probably make things bigger and nicer and run a little bit more smoothly. Just naturally, because computers have better processing power than phones. The game does run fine on the phone. It is worth noting, but just caveat. But yeah, but the game itself, I'm actually finding myself enjoying it a little bit more than I thought I was going to. The gameplay being, yes, kind of turn-based, but card-based. Because I always did like the Seven Deadly Sins game when that had come out. The issue with that game was it just really overheated my phone and just absolutely drained the battery. And I didn't want to damage my phone, so I stopped playing it. But this one, yeah, I'm not having any overheating issues. I don't have like the newest iPhone. I've had this iPhone, I think, for 2 years or so. So it's like a 12, maybe. I think it's a 12 because they have 13 out, 13X, or are we beyond that? I don't even know what we're on. If you're an iPhone user, let me know. But I think it's an iPhone 12 and it's running just fine. And the characters, there's a lot of different unique character art. Again, this is they are cats and then waifus and then also some husbandos as well. Though it is worth noting, you have your SSRs, your SRs, and then your and then your Rs, right? And I don't think I've seen a male husbando that's an SSR. I think the highest I've gotten that's a male character is an SR. So potentially all of the SSRs are waifus and female characters. But that being said, you will get a lot of goodies logging in. They do throw a lot of monetization screens at you. And I believe there was a coding error like the first day. So some of the packs were exorbitantly, priced, but it was because of a error when converting currency to a whatever region's dollar amount equivalent it was. But there were some ridiculous packs priced during that era. One thing that they did do that I've only seen, I think, one time before was a lifetime battle pass. So you spend $30 and then you just get, like, I guess, every battle pass for the life of the game. So I thought that was an interesting feature that I wouldn't mind other gacha games implementing. Excuse me. Just because it allows us, to support the game. You're not paying the price of a AAA game because we're not getting a AAA game, but you are getting, some VIP perks, as it were. And then the gameplay itself does a good job, I think, of walking you through battle stages, and then it does force you in to do some tasks to introduce other elements of the game to you. So, like running your cafe, which is where you passively accrue income and stuff. Your typical, material grinding stages for EXP material, Ascension materials, and such. And then they have, your login rewards. They are giving out a lot of pulls. I think it was something like, 3,000 pulls for playing. I don't know exactly how many it is. It has been quite a bit, but just to clarify, as with most gacha games, it's not all those at once. You do get those over the course of playing the game, logging in daily, having the game open for a certain amount of time, and then of course finishing the beginner or newbie quests that come with launches of new gacha games. So I'm going to be sticking it out at least through the honeymoon phase. It has the potential, because it's a different combat style than any of the other games I am currently playing. So it does have the potential to stay, because it does kind of fit that card game type niche. So we'll see. So talk to me in a week or two and see if it's still on the phone. But that's going to do it for our news outside of the Hoyoverse world. So we do want to thank you guys for joining us this week. Let us know what you guys are looking forward to most in Natlan, as that is going to be coming out the day after this goes up. So if you did enjoy this episode and then the recap of the live stream, and you'd like to show support for the show, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the channel. You can always email us at brohoyopod@gmail.com with questions or suggestions to the show. We also have a link to our Discord in the description, so you can join us over there for news, game nights, content notifications. We are pretty active over there in terms of having conversations with you guys. And then you guys as well, of course, having your community game nights too. As we're concluding season 3 here, with this being episode 30 of the podcast, and then as we enter Natlan, we will be taking our standard 2-week hiatus from the podcast, but we will be using that time maybe to grind out some Natlan. So when we return, we'll be able to give you our full thoughts in our next new episode, which is going to go up on September 16th. We're going to continue to be active in the Discord with any gacha news and gaming updates that do occur. But until then, keep gaming.
We made a choice, go fight against your fate.